Well, good afternoon. I'm Paul Lasley. I'm here on the Des Moines River at my cabin, uh, waiting out this COVID pandemic. Uh, and so I was asked to talk about, well, what in the world are you doing out there at the cabin for this last 4 months? Well, since COVID has changed how we do things, I have spent some time reminiscing about the past, and have taken up some hobbies. For example, now this board here, this started out as a 2x4 when I came out here about the middle of March, and I've been whittling. My granddad was quite a whittler, and if this continues, I'm going to have to go to town and buy another 2x4. This is getting to be pretty thin and fragile. But it also gave me time out here the last 4 months to reminisce about my upbringing. I was raised in Missouri. There were 6 kids in my family. We were all 9 months and 3 minutes apart. Well, that's another story. But I remember, growing up, we were poor. My folks couldn't afford a lot of things, but one of the things that we always had was rabbit. We ate rabbits. In fact, my folks had an old pair of rabbits, a male and a female, and rabbits, you don't have 2 rabbits. You always have more than 2. Didn't take very long. And so we raised rabbits, meat rabbits, for food. And over the years, those rabbits got old and infertile. But they'd been faithful in producing a couple of 3 litters a year, and my folks got pretty attached to this pair of breeding rabbits, and so as my folks got older, why, us kids, most of us had left. We had these. My folks were so emotionally attached to these rabbits that they had a little pen, just a little wire mesh pen, and they would put these 2 old rabbits out there in the lawn and let them eat fresh grass, and then of a night they'd take them away so the hounds wouldn't attack them. One day my folks were sitting on their porch, somewhat reminiscent of this porch. They had their 2 old rabbits out there in this little wired-in cage, and right alongside the driveway, kind of a long driveway back to the farmhouse, and the delivery truck came down the gravel road to bring us a package. I think the package was from Sears and Roebuck. Now that was before Amazon. And by golly, a young driver, and he was going too fast, and he put on his brakes and slid the truck to a stop and kind of lost control of it and ran over those 2 rabbits in that cage, and unfortunately killed them. And my folks were sitting there astonished and in disbelief that these family pets had such a terrible demise. And so the driver felt terrible about it, a young guy, and he felt very bad, and so he said, I'm so sorry. Accidents happen, but I'm so sorry. I feel responsible for it. He said, why don't I take these two rabbits? Obviously, you were very attached to them, and why don't I take them into town to the taxidermist and see if he would stuff them and mount them. So they got a little box, and then he turned to my mother and said, now how would you like to have those mounted? And she says, let's just have them shaking hands. So, as I reminisce about things that may have happened or may not have happened, this is a time for us to enjoy and have a good evening, and perhaps as you're practicing social distancing, you'll think of those stories or childhood memories of reminiscing during COVID. Good night.